have someone that's gonna read something for me. I want us to go to 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, and I want you to start at verse 2. And I'm on an assignment, and so I really want you to hear God. I want you to hear God and what God has to say to you. If you'd read verse 2 for me.
Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, "Get away from here and turn eastward and hide by the brook Cherith, which flows into the Jordan."
Read 4.
"And it will be that you shall drink from the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed you there."
I want you to hear this. I want you to look at someone and repeat after me. Shifting into my next. Shifting into my next. When I was last here for the conference, we were in the shift. It's time for the next. You may be seated. When we truly understand we're in a season now. I was just telling, we were on the way here to the church, that in this season, we have changed seasons. It's cooler in the evening, it's cool in the morning, it's warm or hot in the day, but yet in the mornings, it's cool. In the evening, it starts cooling when the humidity used to be high in the evening. But because there's been a shift in the season, you experience certain things. But what you got to understand, when you look at the grass and look at the trees, they're still green. But yet there has been a shift in the season. Because what happens is that when I'm shifting into my next, it takes place first in the atmosphere. So the atmosphere is different. The temperatures are different. They're changing. The grass is still green. The trees are still green. There's some brownery in the grass. But because that, what you got to understand, your manifestation comes later, but yet it's already taken place. All right. So here it is. I'm shifting, and so when we came up to the shift, and we went through a lot of things. There's some shifting took place before we got to this place, but yet God was doing something because He was preparing us for the next. Somebody say the next. And sometime in the midst of our shift, in the midst of our change, we are challenged because we don't realize how great the next is. Why? Because I'm still focused on what I've been transitioning out of. Okay, y'all walk with me a little bit here. Here it is. It talks about, it said, and the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, go from and turn east and hide yourself by the brook Cherith and east of Jordan. Now watch this. God began to speak to him, and He told Elijah what to do. Now here's the thing is, now when you are in a place and when God shifts you, we've got to understand how to move when God shifts us. Watch this. Look at somebody and say, you got to learn how to move when God shifts you. So here it is. We are now in the shift, but we are moving to our next. Because when you've been going through something and you've been dealing with things, God said, I'm preparing you for your next. And some of us get caught in the shift. Oh my God. We are so challenged in the shift that we cannot get to my next. Look at somebody and say, don't miss your next. Oh yeah, you know, you'd be crazy out of all the hell you've been through to miss your next. You would really be crazy and to keep you out of what God has already declared. How do I know that? Well, when let's go back up here in the scripture. He said, now he's changing things for Elijah. There's a shift, but he said, I've commanded a raven to feed you. I know you're wondering how you're going to do it. But see, God said, I've gone ahead of you and I've made crooked paths straight. I've already commanded, oh my God, somebody to take care of you. I've already made a way for you. So here it is. But see, you got to be obedient. What does it mean you talk about command? Command, I'm glad you asked. Commanded is past tense, and he said it's an authoritative order. In other words, he's telling Elijah, I've already given order that when you shift, it's already going to be provided for you. An authoritative order. Somebody say authoritative order. Now watch this. It also is dominated from a superior height. In other words, when God speaks, there's nothing else. The height that this sound comes from, when God speaks and he commands something, can't no devil in hell stop what God has commanded. Said to give an order. Said, I've commanded. So in other words, sometime in the midst of in our shift and on our way to our next, we're looking at how things look. Let me say it again. I'll go over here. We're looking at how things look, because to our natural eye, it don't look like things are getting better. It don't, oh my God, it don't even look like nothing has changed. But the atmosphere lets me know that there's been a change. I said the atmosphere lets me know there's been a change. You ought to look at somebody and say, I don't know about you, but see, my atmosphere, I put myself in a place. I know that the atmosphere let me know that there has been a change. So I'm preparing myself for my next. While I'm still in my now, I'm preparing myself for my next. Oh my God, I need you to hear this. You've got to understand, there's some things we encountered are coming up to the shift conference. There's some things that we encountered, and I say we because we together. There's some things that we encountered that our leader had to encounter, but really what was happening, it was preparing us for the next. Oh my God. If you think what we've done was great, you better watch out, baby. If you think what we've done is great, I'm telling you, you better buckle your seatbelts and get ready for a ride of your life. Watch this. So here it is. I need you to understand something. When we were here in the shift conference, and God began to talk to me about what was going on. Dr. Wilder, he talked to us about a process. He talked to us about this church. Watch this. His church burned down. When I get a chance to talk to him, I'm going to share this with him too. He talked to us about his church burning down. And he said he lost everything. He had sermons and stuff that he had for years, but he lost everything. When God is taking you to your next, if you're not careful, you will tie yourself to what you had. And so the only way God could get him to release a word in this season, I'm going to burn up everything that you preached before. Because what you preached then won't work in this season. So in your next, what you did then won't work. So he said he had to prepare, and he said they lost everything. And you would think, I lost all my sermons. I've worked on these sermons for years. But God said, what I'm releasing now, that what you did, you would try to bring it into the now, and it won't work in your next. It was good for then. But where you going? Oh my God. I need to make a few points here. I need you to understand something. So that if there is a shift, if you have been in the shift, watch this, I need to ask you a question. You're going to end up into your next. But yeah, we have to learn how to respond to our next. So Elijah being shifted, but he had to respond because God was taking him into his next. Sometimes because we don't understand it, we don't respond very well. Okay, let me go back. When things are not the way we think they ought to be, and things are not going the way we think they ought to go, even though God has commanded this to take place, and things are not really going the way you think it should go, our response is not good. How you doing today? I tell you, it's been a rough day. I had a rough day. What kind of response is that for a child of God? What kind of response is that for a God that woke you up this morning? What kind of response is that for someone that kept you through all the hell you've been through? It's been a rough day. No, baby, I thank God for the day. I thank God because what could have happened did not happen. And you wondering why the world don't want to be in church. It's because how we respond. They don't know what to do because they see us confused. They're looking for an answer, and where they're looking for it at, we're not answering. But I thanks be to God that we got a leader that's preparing us for the next. And we got answers, baby, that we are living in what God has declared. Watch this, watch this. Oh my God. So here it is, how we respond. So here it is. I need you to understand. So here's Elijah, and there was a drought, and God told him to move, told him to go by the brook. I need you to understand. He said, I'm going to have a raven feed you in the morning and feed you in the evening. Bread and flesh. In other words, you got the water from the brook, oh my God, to take care of your thirst, and you've got bread and flesh to take care of you. In other words, I'm going to make sure, even though in a drought, I'm going to make sure you take, oh my God, you in this season, the God we serve, even though when we are going through something, he's going to make sure that we are taken care of in the midst of a drought. Somebody know what I'm talking about. You're living right now, and you wondering how the next gonna take place. But I come to serve you. Notice the God we serve has already commanded that you be taken care of. So here it is, Elijah. Here it is. Here it is. And so what I need you to understand, I don't want you to misunderstand me, because in this shift, we're in the shift, but in this transition, Dr. Wilder talked about some different stages. And so the first thing he talked about, the stage that he talked about, is saying goodbye. I need you to hear me right here. We're in situations today because we didn't know how to say goodbye. Okay. Let me help you. See, you got to understand, Elijah understood that when the brook dried up, he had to leave there. But many of us, we've got some stuff that's dried up. And we know it's dried up, but we are trying to still stay there and not say goodbye to the thing that's already dried up. You mad because you got laid off. That dried up so I can get you into your next. You was already talking about they're not paying you what you worth. You was already talking about it's not doing what you want. But now you upset that you're laid off. And God said, I'm going to lay you off and prepare you for your next. Somebody say, I'm preparing to say goodbye to things. You got to understand that we are so attached to that God's trying to get us away from. We want that more than we want God. Come on, being by the brook, raven feeding you, water there. But he said, I got to dry this up, because if I don't dry it up, you'll stay here at the brook. But there's somebody that needs you someplace else. Oh my God. Oh my God. We get comfortable when God said, this is just a shift. I didn't bring you to the brook to keep you there, even though I'm taking care of you. But I didn't bring you here to keep you here. I brought you here to process you for your next. Somebody say my next. Learning how to say goodbye. And so what happens is we cannot move into what God has declared for us. Why? Because we struggle to say goodbye. I don't understand it. I've talked to people who are in crazy relationships. And you've been going through and you don't understand that God said, I'm trying to do something, but what you can't let go of, I can't bring to you until you let go of what's going on. I need you to understand this. I need you to understand this. Many of us, you know God has brought you to this place to refresh family church, but you're still holding on of where you came from, that you can embrace your next. Oh my God. Oh, somebody said I got to brace my necks. So here it is. What happens? See, we talk about the next, and many, he talks about there's a neutral part. But the fact is, we can't trust God for anything because I'm still attached to that thing I was supposed to let go of. Look at somebody and said, you got to let it go. You got to let it go. So I cannot say goodbye to that I need to say goodbye to so I can move to my next. It's not even doing what you need done, but you can't say goodbye to it. Let me help you out. I'm going to take you to an old song that many of you remember, and some of you might not, but it was when Levert sung a song. He talked about let's kiss and say goodbye. No, you don't know about that, right? He said, this is, I'm going to give you a couple of the lyrics. And here's why we struggle to move into our next. Because we keep ourselves attached to that we're supposed to be detached from. Okay, watch this. What did he say? He said, this is going to be a sad day of my life, the saddest day of my life. I call you here for a bit of bad news. I won't be able to see you anymore. Watch this. Why are you meeting them when you're not going to be able to see them anymore? You got to get to the place. If it's goodbye, it's goodbye. You're still trying to check out the last church to see what they're doing. He said, I won't be able to see you anymore because of my obligation and ties that you have. Watch this. Watch this. I need you to hear this. We've been meeting here every day, and since this is our last day together, I want to hold you. Mistake? Why do you want to hold what you're saying goodbye to? Why do you still? You know you got to move on, but yet I want to hold this thing that I'm supposed to say goodbye to. He said, my God, he said, we're meeting here every day. And since I want to hold you just one more time. When you turn and walk away, don't look back. Well, if I hold you, you're going to look back. Because there's an attachment that you don't realize whenever you've been intimate. And now you're going to try to part by holding that thing and say you're going to walk and not look back. Because you've been involved, you're going to look back. It's a lie. You've got people calling you, telling you about what happened where you used to be. And you're entertaining the conversation. So what did he say in the very end of this thing? He said, when you turn, don't look back. I want to remember you just like you is. Let's just kiss and say goodbye. I don't need to remember what I've let go of. When I've said goodbye, I've got to make sure it's goodbye. Oh my God, when you tell the devil, I'm through with you. Oh my God, when you tell the devil, I've made up my mind, I'm through with you. What am I gonna look back for? I've got no reason to look back. I've got no reason. So here. I need you to understand something. Here with Elijah. Watch this. Here he said, and so did he, according to the word of the Lord, he went and he dwelt by the brook of Cherith, east of the Jordan. Watch this. And the raven brought him the bread and brought him the flesh. Now watch this. And they said one day the brook dried up. After a while, the brook became dry because there was no rain. Now watch this. He's there. The brook dried up. And God speaks to him. God speaks to him. He dries it up. He speaks. And what happened with us sometime, when God speaks, we ignore what God said because we are so attached to what was feeding our flesh. So here he says, the brook dried up. And watch this. I need you to hear this. Watch this. And he said, goes on, he said, arise and go to Zarephath. Here's how we miss God, because whenever God speaks, I need you to hear this. This is why it's important to know the voice of God. Whenever God speaks, you don't have to pray for 5 weeks. Let me go over here. What I find out, and don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying that we don't need to pray, but what I'm saying that we pray about the thing that we need to be about. You ask somebody to do something in the church? Apostle, I need to pray about it. I'm your leader. Now you need to pray about what I've already asked you to do, and we think that's spiritual. I want to make sure this is what God wanted. If you're under my leadership and God has spoke to me to get you to do something, what do you mean you got to make sure? I need you to hear this. Many of us are missing what God has because we are playing these spiritual games. And you talk to Pookie, you talk to your family who don't even know your leader, you talk to people who don't even know your God and try to get an answer. Not only that, your situation is so rough and God is about to open a door for you. He's trying to get you into your next, but you're so caught up. Watch this. He said, now watch this. 2 times the the raven, he said, I've commanded a raven to feed you. This time, I need you to hear this. This time, he said, I've commanded a widow woman. I commanded somebody without something. I need you to hear me. This is the God we serve. This is how awesome he is. Why are you going to send me where someone that commanded to take care of me who don't have what it takes to take care of me? But God, you got to understand, they don't need to have what you need until you get there. God said, and watch this. Remember, he didn't say, I told a widow woman to feed you, to sustain you. He said, but I've commanded her. She don't have a choice. Oh my God. When God has commanded a blessing for you, all you got to do is show up. When the job belongs to you, when God said, I've commanded that they hire you, all you got to do is show up. He says, I've commanded a widow woman. Here it is. So Elijah understood he had to make a move. He had to make a move because now God said, hey, you brought me here. God, you had a raven feeding me. Now that's dried up. Now you telling me that I need to move. Because your next gonna involve you having faith on what God said. Okay, let me go over here. Your next is going to involve you having faith on what God says. Because your next, oh my God, is for you and somebody else. I know you think it's all about you and your situation, but God said, baby, this next move is not just about you, but there's somebody that need what you got. There's somebody. Oh my God. Watch this. Oh my God. Somebody said they need what I got. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Watch this. Watch this. He gets there. And the woman tells him, he said, could you get me, bring me a little water? And so that was all right because she wasn't challenged bringing him some water. But even though there's been a drought, but she was going to bring him some water. But in the midst of that, he said, and she was going to get it. He called her and said, bring me a morsel of bread in your hand. Now I'm asking a little bit more of you. Oh my God. In this season, I need you to hear this. The apostle going to be asking a little bit more of us. I said in this season, I need you to hear this. Now, if you've been following him like I always do since he's been in Africa, he talked about what God is about to bring through is 50 more churches. I heard Apostle Akram talk about 6 more, but I heard our leader say 50 more. So that means in this season, he's going to ask more of us. Oh my God, my God. And we can't be questioning everything. All we've got to do is line up and say, God, whatever I need to do, I'm ready to do that. Here it is, here it is, here it is. He called to her and said, bring me a morsel of bread out of your hand. And she said, as the Lord your God live, I have not a loaf of bread, but only a handful of meal. In other words, I haven't even made the bread yet. How is it that God sends him to a widow to sustain him? She haven't even made the bread. Because to us in the natural, if you've been commanded to do something, you're going to have it ready when I get there. But with God, I'm not just doing something with you, but I'm doing something with her too. See, this is why we've got to show up where God said we need to be. Because you never know what God's going to do. Oh my God. Are there any believers in here? So here he said, she said, I'm going to gather her sticks. He said, I have a handful of meal in a jar and a little oil in the bottle. She said, I'm gathering 2 sticks that I may go into the bake it for me and my son, that we may eat and die. Wait a minute. You're going to eat and die. So really, there's a life involved here. If we're not obedient to what God is saying, there's somebody that's going to take what they have and give up on God because they don't have anything else. But because we are obedient to God, and when God speaks, watch this. Said that she was going to die. And Elijah said to her, fear not. Go and do as you have said. Fear not. Go and do as you have said. Watch this. Make me a little cake first. In other words, I need you to sow. Oh my God. I know you don't have it a little bit, but if you take something out of that which you got, because for us, we measure sowing based on what we got. And what you don't understand, if you got anything, you got enough to sow. We measure the amount to determine whether we'll sow. But what you got to understand is the obedience out of the sowing. Because if you sow that, you don't have to worry about having more. Okay, let's go in the word here. And so bring it to me. And afterwards, then prepare some for you and your son. You know, that's crazy. You mean to tell me that you're going to let her son die? And she's going to bring you something? No, I'm not going to let her son die. I'm about to bring life to her and her son. I'm about to bring life. Somebody say life. When you sow, you bring life to you and your son, to you and your daughter, to you and your family. Anybody want to bring life to their family? You've got to understand that oh my God, we miss the moments and we complain about what we don't have. She was talking about what she didn't have, but God is about to work something in. Can I understand? Before, Elijah was dependent on the raven to bring him bread, oh my God, and flesh in the morning and in the evening. Watch this. But in his next, he took bread and brought, oh my God, something to the woman and her family. The last time somebody was bringing him bread and flesh, oh my God, he was eating it. But this time he said that when you do this, I'm going to cause you to have more in your next. God said, I'm going to cause you to have more than you had in your past. Hear this. For I say, the Lord God of Israel, the jar of meal shall not waste away. It shall not waste away, or the bottle of oil fail until the day that the Lord sendeth the rain on earth. In other words, what I need you to understand, woman, what you're about to do, that what you think is about over is just going to begin. Oh my God, what you think is about to die is about to live. Oh my God, he sent the man of God so that what was about to die to live. I need you to understand. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. But here's what God is doing in this season. I'm sending you an apostolic voice to speak to that was about to die so that it can live. I'm sending you an apostolic voice to that you think is a little, to cause it to become much. Elijah said, and she and her son household for many days, they had all. They had bread. It didn't go out because God said, I'm sending you what you need. When she heard him speak, she then understood the command that she had received. Watch this, watch this. As I'm make my last points in here. He said, so my shift is going to take me to my next. Here was Elijah in the midst of the shift. And God said, I'm preparing your next, which don't look like a lot, but see, what God is doing is, see, even in your now, he's prepared your next. I know many of us say that when I get this, I'm going to do this. But what you got to understand, you've got to make a decision in your now. Because God has already prepared your next. But you got to make a decision that I'm going to say goodbye so I can move into my next. Watch this, watch this, watch this. I need you to hear this. I need you to hear this. It's very key. I told you about the goodbye. Apostle Davis said something to us. I need you to catch this. He said to us during the conference, he said, God is bringing off the bench those who've been on the bench. He's bringing them into the game. I need you to hear this. Listen to this. It's football season. Something that has never happened during the course of NFL. Their key quarterbacks are going down. There were those that was on the bench. I need you to hear this. When they showed up to the game, they wasn't expecting to go in the game. They was expecting to still be on the bench. But God said, I'm telling you, I'm doing something. It is not that you want somebody to get hurt, but God said, I'm doing something because there's something on the bench that the world needs to see. I know we've been excited about those in the game, but there's some great stuff on the bench. And so God said, in this season, I'm about to bring off the bench some stuff that you never thought was there. Oh my God. Here it is. Here it is. Because we've been so caught up. And if we're not careful, we'll be happy being on the bench. Because get in the game, there's a challenge. Oh my God. I'm a Steeler fan. And so when we brought our quarterback off the bench, they're still losing. So he's under pressure, but the fact is, he's off the bench. So even though when you come off the bench, everything might not work right the way you think it ought to, but what you got to understand, I'm not on the bench anymore. And if I'm not on the bench anymore, I got the opportunity to change what's going on. On the bench, I can only talk about it. But in the game, I've got a chance to change what's going on. Baby, you ought to get in the game. God is bringing you off the bench. Are there any believers up in here? I say, are there any believers up in here? So, watch this. My next, oh my God, my next is gonna make me uncomfortable. You are used to being comfortable with that you're not satisfied with. But what you've got to understand, your next is going to make you uncomfortable. Can I tell you something? It's going to make you uncomfortable, but it's going to make you great. Because now you've got a chance to show what was in you to the world. You've got a chance for that one that was about to die to cause them to live. Watch this, watch this, watch this. So it's going to make you uncomfortable. It's going to challenge you. And sometimes we want more, but we're afraid of the challenge. You've got to understand what God is doing in this season. You're going to be challenged. But what you got to understand, what I'm about to walk into is far greater than my challenge. What I'm about to get is far greater than anything I ever had. What I'm about to walk into is greater than anything I've ever experienced. What I'm about to walk into. Are there any believers up in here? So here it is. When you come off the bench, you used to been practicing. You've been praying before. But God said, now I'm going to bring you into situations that you're going to pray for and see the manifestation of God. Yeah, you've been praying before, but now I'm going to call you on the scene in a situation. And God said, I'm going to use you to pray and raise up the dead. I'm going to use you to pray to raise up that which the doctor said is over. Are there any believers up in here that you understand? We're moving. We're in this shift, but now we're moving into our next. My next chapter of life is going to be far greater. Somebody say my next. Somebody say my next. Let me tell you something though. You've got to understand your next is going to require you to walk by faith and not by sight. I said your next is going to cause you to walk by faith and not by sight. Because where Elijah was going, it had to be faith. He didn't know everything, and we're looking to know everything. All I need to do is hear the voice of God and move by the voice of God. All I need to do is hear the voice of my leader and move. There's another thing that your next is going to require. Living, I need you to hear this. Living in the supernatural. You're going to be natural because we're natural here. But your next is going to cause you to live in the supernatural. I need you to hear this. It's time out for coming to church and not seeing the move of God. I need you to hear me. It's, oh my God. Oh my gosh. Many of those who was in the game, they began to think it was about them and not the reason they were there. But those he's bringing off of the bench, understand, if it had not been for God, I didn't have what others had. I didn't have the talent that they had. But I serve a God. I serve a God that's greater than any talent. I serve a God that won't let you pray and tithe and not bless you. So they understand in their next, we're going to have to live supernatural. And see, the world is looking. But you know what's keeping the world? It's the church. keeping them from coming in. We said we want them in, but they're looking at us. Whenever you start operating the supernatural, you won't have to ask nobody to come to church with you. Whenever you start laying hand on the sick and they recover, they're going to ask you where you going. Read your Bible. Whenever Jesus healed somebody, they wanted to follow him. He didn't ask them to follow him. Whenever he healed them, they wanted to follow him. In this next, living supernatural, meaning that I have faith to believe God. Regardless of how it looks, I believe God. Regardless of what it seems like, I believe God. Regardless of what it looks like, I believe God. Because what I understand, there would not be a next if it had not been for God. What I understand, all that I've been through, I should not even be here. But because of God, I'm still here. So I'm going to embrace my next. I'm going to embrace my next. I'm coming off the bench, and I'm going to see that the people of God get what God has for them. I'm coming off the bench, and I'm going to make sure whatever the will of God is, we're going to do the will of God, because that's my next. We've got to learn how to embrace the next. I know sometimes that it looks crazy, but we've got to let the world know God has already taken care of your situation. By faith. My pastor said on one of the messages, he said, we want to stream when we're going through. I know you want to know how I know, because I always stream in on him. You can't have a leader that you don't follow. Every Sunday and every Wednesday, I stream in. You cannot have a leader when you don't know what they're saying. You've got to know what they're saying. How can you follow a voice that you're not listening to? Well, we've got to understand in this shift that we went through to get us into this next, is so that the world will be able to experience God like they've never experienced him before. There's some people out there, they want to go to church, but they don't see nothing. If you tell me God is so good, I need to see a move of God. We need a move of God. We don't need, understand this. A lot of people that was in the game, they were there based on their talent, not based on God. So their talent kept them. But in this season, I might not be able to speak it like you, but it will come from the throne room. I might not be able to break it down like you, but it will break up the fallow ground. I might not have all the words you have, but I've got a word from the Lord to tell somebody that you should live and not die. In this season, in our next, we're going to begin to see a manifestation of God like we've never seen before. I need you to hear me. Don't miss what God is doing. And if you notice something, the woman obeyed the man of God, and she brought what he asked for. We are challenged today to hear our leaders and do what they ask. I need you to understand. Because why? I couldn't say goodbye to the last one that done me wrong. So I'm attached to something where somebody hurt me. I can embrace that loves me. There are many people today not married because of what happened to them. And they're afraid to give themselves to someone else. But I stopped by to tell you tonight, it's time you move in your next. And if you move by God, the next will not be like what your previous. Because this is a God move. If you move by your flesh, you'll get what you've been having before. This is the time. Stand to your feet, everybody. Let me tell you something. I got a phone call, and I might have shared this when I was here before. I got a phone call from one of our members. Their daughter was about to. The doctor said that he'd done all he can do. The mother called me and said, we need to prepare a homegoing service. I said, where is this coming from? Well, the doctor said, oh. Well, no. What I need you to do is hush. Because everything coming out of your mouth is not good right now. Maybe it's because you're scared. Maybe you just don't. Because we got more faith than the doctor. We got faith in somebody practicing medicine instead of the doctor of all doctors. So I said, I'm going to stay on the phone. We're going to pray right now before the doctor meet with them. They had him in that room to meet with them always where they bring you the bad news. And so I said, we're going to pray first that when the doctor come in, that he's going to have something else he can do. So we prayed. I said, keep me on the phone. So when the doctor came in, he said, well, I'm going to try one more thing. One more thing. And she said, he said, but if that, and all she heard, if that don't work. I said, no, let's go back to, he said, I'm going to try one more thing. Brain dead. We prayed, went up there, prayed, we spoke. I told him first before I went, I said, put the phone to her ear. Because hearing is the last thing that leaves. That's why you got to be very careful who you let come in people's room. Speaking death over your loved ones. You need to shut the door to some folks and keep them out of there. And we prayed. They called me yesterday and said, and this has been some months ago, and they called me yesterday and said she's going to be moved to progressive. She's going to be from there to rehab. That what they said that would not work. When the doctor said that she was going to die. But let me tell you about a God that if you believe God, regardless of what it looks like, you've got to believe. For somebody in here tonight and somebody who watching my streaming, you've encountered something and you wondered what to do and you're going by the doctor report. But I come to serve you notice to let you know that God said you shall live and not die. So whatever it is that you're encountering, and what they love to tell you is about who else died, with what you're going. I don't need to hear about who died with what. Tell me about somebody who got up. People would love to come to you. Let me tell you, my cousin had that same thing, and I don't want to hear that. Where they at? They're not here. I don't want to talk to you. I need to talk to somebody who got up. Because when I read my word, they said they buried my Christ, but he got up. So what that tells me, if he got up, I can get up. Anybody ready to get up in here? I'm moving into my next. My next is my healing. My next is my deliverance. I'm moving into my next. I don't know about you. It would be a shame to have been on the bench all your life and move into your next and not do what God wants you to do and not give God praise. So since I'm here, I'm gonna praise God for my next. Yeah. Devil, you should have killed me when you had a chance. But I'm in the game now. And since I'm in the game, I'm gonna do what you call me to do. Anybody in here that you know you're ready for your next?
I'm moving into my next. I'm moving into my next. Moving into my next. Into my next. Moving into.
Come on, walk with me. I'm moving into my next.
Say I'm moving into my next.
Yeah, you ought to move out from where you are
I'm moving
because you're moving into your next.
I'm moving into my next.
Yeah! Come on.
Moving into my next.